Hey, Scorpio.
Hey, back
All
again,
right,
back again.
that's working. Perfect.
Yes.
Well, all good. I think we've waited long enough for people to join us. I see we are almost at 200 live listeners, so that's great. Yeah, let's kick it off, guys. Welcome, everybody. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Paulus. I do part of the marketing at Reform, and I co-host these spaces. And today I am joined again by the one and only Scorpio. Scorpio, a quick introduction again.
Yeah, sure. So, of course, happy to be here again with every one of you to go over Forum ecosystem once more. So, part three, going over more in depth the market making and of course what Reform can do in its capabilities. I'm Scorpio, managing the operational side of Reform DAO, making sure that everything goes well on a day-to-day business. So, that said, Paul, I give it to you, and let's kick it up this amazing space again.
Definitely. Great. All right, so let's quickly look at some of the achievements. Give me 1 second. There we go. I had the wrong one in front of me. So we launched the contributor program last week. Today, the contributor program is a program that basically allows everyone in our community that's above the gold tier to help and contribute towards the growth of Reform. And in reward, they will win points within our community, which allows them to grow faster towards the diamond level, which is the main tier that you want to acquire, because that will make you eligible for one of the 3 airdrops. Additionally, last Monday, we launched the whitelisting campaign for the Wave 3 of testnet. If you haven't seen that yet, we tweeted that on Monday. You have to drop your one in the comments, and you have to tag 3 friends and obviously follow Reform. And then you are automatically whitelisted for Wave 3 of the testnet. And by completing testnet, you will also get one of the airdrops of Reform. We'll dive a little bit more into all those details later on, but let's quickly go over the planning of today. First of all, we'll have a quick general market update, just discuss some of the things that happened over 7 days. And I'm always curious about Scorpio's opinion and how he sees these things from his perspective personally, but also from Reform's perspective. Then we have another educational section. As I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, we are working on launching the Reform Academy very soon. And these educational sections will basically form part of that. So it's great that you guys are already getting a sneak peek to it. Today we're diving again into the centralized world of market making. The reason why is that we really think it's super important for people to truly understand what market making is, so you can truly understand what Reform is going to be doing and is already doing. And then starting next week, we will dive more into specific topics within Reform and how the company actually works. And close it off Q&A session. We have some questions that we got from the community. And we'll just be answering the most asked questions. See how long it takes. Normally these take 45 minutes to an hour, but most of the time we're actually closing in on an hour. So to kick it off, let's look into the general market update. So basically what happened last week in Web3. First of all, Scorpio, we saw that the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen in the US calls Congress to pass more crypto legislation. I guess that's very good news to read.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as we also spoke about it last week about some regulation, I don't know exactly what it was anymore. I think it was in regards to the ETF, I guess. No, I don't exactly remember. But again, everything in regards to legislation and to make crypto more mainstream and to get it to the portfolios of the traditional people. I think, the better, right? I think we're all here, of course, to make a difference, to actually change the traditional, not only finance, but also other sectors. By disrupting it with blockchain technology and with the power of cryptocurrencies. And I think especially those kind of things, integrating the traditional world, but still having, of course, that robustness and transparency of the blockchain is super, super important. So with legislation, of course, it's good. It's good that there will be more regulation. But on the other hand, we also need to make that we will treasure the things that we have been creating with the cryptocurrencies. We'll never let those things go.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I think last week we spoke indeed about a lot of the ETF approval, about how Google changed to allow advertising.
Yeah, that was
and it. I think that's these things weigh in quite heavily as well now, because more and more people see what blockchain can do, it just makes sense to move that way, right? There's so many processes in the world that can be optimized using blockchain technology. It's great to see also people in power now seeing this and calling for legislation. So that's great.
Yep.
Then I think kind of thing of the last week, Solana network, it went down for like 5 hours due to an outage. Have you read about it?
Yeah, I actually saw it come across. Also saw some memes, which is also, of course, quite typical for those kind of events occurring within the crypto space. But yeah, I think especially for Solana, I think it's a very strong protocol. I think it's of course made for scalability. It's here to actually suffice for minuscule transactions, and in very big sizes or in very big quantities. None with that, of course, looking at the blockchain trilemma. You have to give up one of those things, right? And in this case, it's decentralization part, still quite centralized in that sense. And that also comes with what they had last week. I think if it's really due to an audit and if it's really due to making sure that the ecosystem is as robust as they say it is, then of course it's part of the legislation of the regulation to make it a very solid and legal chain. But we have to, always guess in that sense if that's really the case. So I'm just curious if there will be a report of that audit or anything, and then we can say with 100% trust or confidence that it's because of that reason.
Yeah. I mean, you're way more knowledgeable in this area than me, so it makes a lot of sense what you're saying again. So that's great, and I think it's interesting. I also like to see the panic that came out of it. It's the Solana became the most traded or most utilized blockchain very recently, outperforming Ethereum for a while due to all the meme coins having such a success on Solana now, I believe. And then something like this, which really, of course, makes a big impact. A 5-hour outage is quite big on a meme coin scene, right? So it's interesting to see the whole space shifting there, and then something like this happening, probably because it became so big as well.
Yeah, well, like I said, right. Let's hope it's really due to the audit and everything is really stands still for that. Would be great because then it indeed opens up for more regulation and legislation. If not, then it is indeed due to the problems of Solana still being centralized, being dependent on a few operators. Other than that, I think Solana in itself after the past months, going amazing in terms of price appreciation. Of course, not the past months, but the past year. I think that's indeed due to the fact also always, after a big sell-off, of course, FTX had a big chunk, Alameda, those kind of parties in Solana itself. Of course, it went down with all the bad news. But I think also always after bad news, and especially if the ecosystem is robust and there are transactions and it's working, then it will eventually come back. And in this case, if it goes down very fast, will also go up very fast. Same goes for the other way around, right? If it goes up very fast, 9 out of 10 times it should also go down very fast. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. We always have to say not financial advice, but I guess this is quite good financial advice, right? So
well, the thing is, like, it's not financial advice. It's more like no, just take it into your trading life or into your investment life as to put it in your toolkit, so to say. And make sure that you always keep that in mind. Don't follow something that's already up 500%. Unless you could make still, I don't know, a small 50 to 100%. But something that's up 500% is not per se the best thing to actually look at in that sense. But whatever.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. All right. Then in other news, we saw that BlackRock and Fidelity now hold over 134,000 bitcoins, worth over $5.7 billion. For their spot Bitcoin ETFs. What is your opinion on this? Having these companies buy, I believe they own like 3% of BTC at the moment.
I think, to be fair, I saw some numbers about Michael Saylor today, and I think he still has more than them, to be fair. Yeah. So that's actually quite cool, to see. So he did some, good buys in that sense over the past 1 or 2 years. But seeing those parties actually at Bitcoin is actually quite interesting to see because, there's just so much supply of Bitcoin. And the more these parties are going to gather Bitcoins to, back their ETFs or to buy it to, have it in their availability for the customers, the more scarce Bitcoin becomes, the more the price will appreciate. And I think, especially with the ETF approval, this was like a very, enhancer of the accumulation of Bitcoin for a lot of financial institutions, and of course the retail in the end who gets it from the financial institutions, the ETF in that sense. So I think that's very bullish. I think that of course they get a bigger share within the overall crypto in the overall Bitcoin supply. But that's how it is. The one who has the most money who can buy it off, always also gets the price. But the only thing that I do like that these parties are actually now buying it from people that already possibly already in for a very long time. So they're actually buying it from the retail most of the time. So that's actually quite funny because normally the retail is buying it from the institutions, but in this case, institutions are also most likely buying it from retail who were into Bitcoin already for or are already into Bitcoin for a very long while. So that's that's cool.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's interesting to see, and I assume they have been buying up for quite a while now. Also, I guess not silently because it's all quite transparent. But like the movement in Bitcoin itself over the last month or 2 months hasn't been that big, right? It has been quite steady, actually, moving between. I mean, for Bitcoin's sake, right? It moves between like 38 and 45K.
Yeah, I think the price, of course, in Bitcoin became a little bit more stable after it, of course, going up crazily. I think that's also good, after a run up, some accumulation, some raging period, just to make sure that it can get some strength again for the next leg up. Other than that, yeah, I think the developments in terms of the Bitcoin ecosystem has not been standing still, since you see a lot of, layer twos on Bitcoin, BRC20 protocols, anything like that. So, there comes there is, let's say, a big narrative around all those implementations to the Bitcoin chain. And I think I think that's good. That's bullish. That's nice to see. Getting more traction and more applications built around the Bitcoin ecosystem, and making sure that it can be leveraged.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. In other news, we saw that GoDaddy partnered with the Ethereum name services to allow users to connect their domain names with ENS names.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, to be fair, I was not aware of that one, but I think those kind of things are just really cool because now, of course, the ENS domain names can be seen on the Etherscan. I don't know if you can already, if they're really like acknowledged by let's say the HTTPS standards and everything, so that you can actually host a website on your ENS domain. I don't know if that's possible yet. I did not figure it out, but yeah, that will be actually a great thing, so that you can actually host a website on your .eth domain name, so to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
ENS. Yeah.
It's literally seeing the web going Web3, right? It's
that's exactly true.
It's pretty interesting. Okay, well, I think that's most of the general market updates that we have. Obviously, a lot happens every week, but these are some of the highlights that we picked for today. And yeah, I think it's time for us to dive back into the educational topic, which is centralized market makers, and again, looking into the transparency of market making.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we talked about centralized market makers last week already. Maybe you can give us a brief recap of their operations and also especially focusing on the big issues.
Because there's a lot of things in regards to, I would not say it's market makers. It's more like traditional market makers, how market makers are actually operating in the crypto space. Of course, a lot of market makers are doing it the right way, but still not from a decentralized autonomous organization perspective, as of course Reform is doing it. But yeah, there are also a few that are not doing it, how it actually should be done, which non-directional. Market making should always be like you're sufficing liquidity to the order books or to the liquidity pools to make sure that people can trade in the market and on that specific pair. Some market makers in that sense also tend to do directional market making, which is like making sure that the price will go up or down or whatever, which is of course against the ethos of market making in itself. Sometimes projects also benefit with this since they make deals with market makers, which is also again behind closed doors and for the benefit of the project and the market maker. But in the end, who is the one that actually takes the punches, so to say? Well, that's the retail. That's in the end you. So I think in that sense, that's one thing. That's with some of the traditional market makers. On the other hand, I also think with traditional market making is the fact that you will always have people on the top of the chain, let's say in those specific companies, that actually want to get the profits that they make with market making out. And I think that's also a very big thing, the liquidity that's being provided to specific projects for a specific period of time in terms of service that's being delivered, will eventually also stop whenever the contract ends. And then, the tokens that are left will be just sold on the market by the market maker because they have no incentive anymore to do the market making for this specific project. Then the profits will be cashed, so to say, and then those profits will be going towards the shareholders. And I think that's I think one of the biggest things that we as Reform want to, why we actually want to keep sufficing the liquidity that's being left even after the service contract ends, to put that into the treasury, the DAO treasury, and to keep making sure that that there will be liquidity provided, and that with the realized profits, we're going to do the buybacks. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. That is important to mention for now.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for that. And one of the things I wanted to have a quick look at as well today is what about a lot of the small projects in the space, right? Even they need market makers, but probably it's impossible for them to get in contact with these big traditional centralized market makers nowadays, right? So
now, I think just to jump in there real quick, I think if you are a good project, you're able to get a market maker anyway. The only thing is that I think is very important is that market making in general is not per se the problem that those projects are facing to actually get a market maker, because any project can get a market maker. It just depends, on what kind of tier market maker you get, on how good your project is in that sense. So yeah, in that sense, I would say, project market making is not for projects getting a market maker is not the big issue in that sense.
Okay, and will reform bring any change to that?
Well, I think what we will do with reform, and I think that's the most important. What I think in market making should be done, there should be like a filter, right? So we are not here to make, let's say, the shareholders in the traditional market making, what I just explained, to make the shareholders rich, because there are no shareholders, because the DAO participants are actually, the people that are going to get the value back by the buybacks that are being done with the realized profits. And sorry, where was I? I just thinking too many things at the same time.
Well, we were talking obviously about how reform can change the impact that on smaller projects. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So you mentioned.
Yeah.
You mentioned it's not a big issue for the traditional market makers. They just look at how strong a project is, etc., and then depending on how big or how strong the project is, they get a certain tier of market making. And I was wondering whether or not reform will change that in the industry.
That's actually what I wanted to go to. So now I remember again. With reform will, of course, let all the value go back to the DAO treasury, and on the other hand, also going to vet out the right project. So we're going to make sure that there's like a research process in place, that we're going to check, okay, who are the founders behind the protocol? Are they actually willing to put all their effort to get this project to a success? What is their launching strategy? Help them with that, get them introduced to exchanges, make sure that we, guide them through the whole process, and actually give them like the reform stamp, right? So that, this project is reformed and the market making is being done true and fair for as well the project, for as well the market maker, for as well, the retail or the communities that are actually involved within those processes. So I think that's the most important part that we want to add as reform, as an extra layer. You can check it, or you can view it as some sort of the same as an audit firm, Certic, Hacken, whatever. They are auditing, of course, smart contracts. Well, what we will do, we will audit the projects if they're like, fair, solid enough, and actually want to build something and not only want to do a cash grab, and that we're going to do market making and build together with them to the process that they're going to the market, and where we can be their dedicated market maker.
Could you see in the future that this also will involve audit makers after we provide them the stamp, basically?
You mean that we also work together with other market makers?
Yeah, say with the reform stamp saying, they reformed, their market making is being transparent. Obviously, those market makers need to be transparent as well.
Yeah.
But would that happen in the future?
Yeah, I think that's all part of the movement, right? I think that's all part of the fact that we as Reform want to set a standard, and we of course want to work with, like I said, there are also enough market makers that are doing it already in a fair way, and just making sure that all the incentives are aligned. But there are also still a few that are not, and I think that's a sort of consortium that needs to be created in the end, whereby we're going to be in talks with any other market maker that's available in the market, whereby we will be seeing like, okay, what is a synergy with each and every of these market makers, and see if the ethics actually align. So I think that's of course possible. Like why not? We're open for any collaboration with any market maker in any time, as long as the vision and the mission and the ethics actually align with what we want to represent as Reform DAO in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great to hear. And I guess the mission, the vision, right? That often comes back to transparency, especially for Reform. So transparency is a common buzzword in the crypto space, but in your experience personally, why is it so important in this industry?
The thing is, it's not per se only important in this industry. It's like important in any business, right? Because as I also noticed, I've been part of several companies, so to say, And what I also just noticed within those companies, what's always very important is like the transparency that you have towards your employees, because you can hide financials, you cannot tell anything about financials, you can just do whatever to not inform them about specific choices or whatever. But in the end, people will be talking, people will be sharing things around, will come out, and then you're there with a sort of problem. And you just want to prevent those things, right? You do not want to you do not want to fix things or go walk behind the facts. You just want to make sure that you create everything in such a way that everyone is aligned and everyone knows where you're going all together. And I think especially that with reform, and actually, like I said, in any other company or business or industry, the transparency is just super important, because there's like a saying that the truth will always be coming up in the end, right? And that's for any party and for any industry. Everyone who behaves like or pretends to behave properly, but in the back actually does not, eventually it will always touch the light. And whenever it does, then you get a lot of shit, and you can better leave the market or the industry. And I think that's also now with reform, we just need to make sure that we're going to set the standard, going to collaborate with a lot of other parties / market makers within the space that are having the same ethics, and then the other ones will slowly go out of the market, because they see that for them there's not a lot of incentive anymore to be here, because the incentives do not align, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. So I assume with the traditional market makers, in my block note, they're all called centralized market makers, but let's call them traditional market makers. Transparency is obviously not the same as what we are doing with reform, but I assume they are still transparent in some way, right?
Yeah, well, some of them are, but the thing is also like you can be transparent, because if you provide someone, it's just a brief example, right? If you provide someone with a pitch deck, and in that pitch deck you state that you're able to do a specific a spread and a specific, this is all like technical terms, but like a specific spread and a specific amount of money within a specific grid, and you're just saying that all those things are possible and that you're actually willing to do that for the project. The project is like, or the people from the project are like completely hyped. They're like, yeah, let's go. This is good. This is beneficial for our market in the end. And then in the end, they give you a contract, and within that contract, nothing stated in regards to sort of promises or KPIs that are being done by these market makers, what they can provide. So it's just actually a contract whereby they give a loan in tokens to the market maker, with market maker will go market making. But in the end, the service will not actually be provided as it was stated in the pitch deck before, because in the contract all those KPIs and promises are not put in the contract. So that's just one of the examples, right? And I think that's not being fully transparent. It's like almost like tricking people. And I think those kind of things are you need to guide those newly starting projects through the process. If you have founders that are really eager project to the market, with a community who also deserves not to be on, then you just need to get into the conversation with this project, explain them how it's normally done, explain them what we're doing, explain them what we can offer, and then I think you have a very transparent process. And after that, even providing them some private dashboarding where they can actually see like, hey, okay, my spread is like this as they promised, and we have this amount of money in this specific grid. It's just making sure that all the things that you say and do are sort of followed, and that it's not just loose promises or trying to trick people to get the best deal out of it yourself.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Your answers are always so elaborated, because I like that a lot, because you answered like 3 of my next questions already.
Well, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the space.
No, but that's great, because obviously the next step would be like, what type of data or what type of information is very important for projects to know, but is not being shared transparently by these market makers, which you already disclosed in your example. And then also the possible consequences for these projects, because they don't get this transparency, right? Because suddenly their project is not performing as they expected, even though they were told it was supposed to go like that. So I think your answers are always very elaborate, so that's only great. And I guess one of the only things that, can you maybe again name some of the prime examples that reform is going to be doing for projects, and how they're going to disclose, like how reform is going to disclose that to projects, to make sure we are actually transparent and not do what a lot of the traditional market makers are doing right now?
Yeah, so in terms of transparency, I think thereby the private dashboarding is super important. Like I just mentioned, they can just see how their market maker is doing the market making for them. which is not in not all of the market makers the case that they're able to provide those kind of dashboards. So that's one. I also think, like I said, right, making the deals with those projects. Like I said, it depends, of course, on who the founders are from that project, because there's also a lot of founders who want to earn with the market makers on the back of retail. And I think those are not the ones that are going to be in line with our ethics and with the reform stamp that I was just talking about. So yeah, getting in touch with those project founders that actually are willing to do, some sort of a fair launch, making sure that it's going to be all properly done and that it's just going to be all going the right way in terms of there's a future growth plan. They want to go somewhere. They want to build something, and it's not just okay, I need to make money in day one and then I'm going to leave the market. No, that's not what we're here for. So I think those kind of things needs to be discussed with the project itself. Say like, hey, this is what we can offer. This is what's normally being done. We want to educate you on market making. We even want to provide you some guidance, the right introductions to VCs, exchanges, anything like that. And then actually, whenever they think, hey, we have a good feeling with these people, we think that they can really add value. We of course say, okay, then you get the dashboarding. You can see in the dashboards what the performance is, and or let's say not performance, but like the spread and everything what I mentioned. And then in the end, whenever the service contract ends, the tokens that are left that we have as a reform actually get it from the loan, from the project, and actually then maybe paid off already by the option contract that's covering it. Then we're actually free in the project. We can add it to the DAO treasury, and we keep sufficing liquidity with it. So there's also not an incentive for us to sell them down on the market. And I think those kind of things, like this whole line, is super important for projects, and also actually the retail to be really aware of, because you as a trader or you as a person do not want to buy something at the top and then have the market maker or the project just constantly dumping the token to actually on the people that have been buying on a high price and are now locked in the token. So I think those kind of things are just super important for everyone to take into consideration. It's of course an extra layer of knowledge, an extra layer of cautious that you need to build in. Of course, there's a lot of cautious already built into the crypto space where you need to watch out for scams, need to watch out for that you're not going to get fished or whatever. But just wanting to make everyone aware of what else is out there, which you're maybe not directly feeling, so to say, or directly being affected by, but indirectly, most likely you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. I mean, just recapping what you mentioned also on the reform stamp, I think it's so important to say, because the reform stamp might sound like you compared it to what Certic is doing for projects on their audit, and it might be interesting for projects to know that a project gets a stamp or another market maker gets a stamp, but it's also for the consumers, because it shows the consumers, the end users, the buyers, that a project is having the right way of thinking, the right ethical approach, will not dump on the community, etc. So I think that's just super important, and it's a great thing to add, in my opinion, to the space, because there's not something like this right now. So that's definitely great, to have out there.
Yeah, it's also because it's so niche, right? And there's not a lot of parties that can actually that has the ability to, over those kind of software solutions to provide the market making. And I think in the end, it's like the companies that are already in a more mature stage can develop those kind of technologies, or at least have a very strong business development where they can actually get those deals in without actually having proper software solutions. But and like I said, right, it's a game of numbers, and you just need to make sure that in the case of market making, that you're aware of what's all happening, and we as Reform really make the difference there. And like I said, right, we built that consortium, get other market makers also enthusiastic about this, trying to create this fair and honest and transparent way of operating. And I think that will take time, like anything. It's time, it takes effort, but as long as we can ignite that, and as long as we can make sure that we're going to make a change, I think that's the key takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, one of the things, because this is basically we're getting to the end of the educational part, and I think one of the things that I just want to add here for everyone listening, because I can imagine a lot of what has been said is maybe difficult to comprehend or too technical, or because it is quite a difficult topic, right? That's also why we keep coming back to it. So as I mentioned before, one of the things that we will be launching soon is going to be Reform Academy, where everyone can go through all of these details on their own time, on their own space. And also we will be diving way more into detail of each of these separate parts that we have been discussing. Scorpio went over some of the some of the pipeline streams already within Reform, and that will be highlighted a lot there as well. So you can all understand, what's the flow of revenues within the company, how does it work, how does that market making work, how does it benefit me as an individual, right? Like, why would you buy the Reform token? Obviously, that's a big part of it as well. So yeah, if you're now listening to us and you're like, nah, I have no idea what these guys are talking about, don't worry. There's a lot coming that will probably help you out with this as well. Because it is very difficult to understand. That's for everyone out there. It doesn't matter if you're new to the space or been in the space for a long time. It's a difficult subject, and I always like to have Scorpio with me here because I like explaining things, because to me he explains it in a very clear and easy to understand way. So thanks again for that, Scorpio. Great to have you here.
No, good. I think it's like I said before, it's just super important to have this message spread across the crypto space, to have everyone at least aware of what's happening and aware of the things that can be minimized as anything. I think it's always good to have people aware of the things around them, and you need people that actually can provide it. And we as Reform really want to provide it to you as a community, but also to the projects that are going to be launching their newly starting tokens, or maybe even their existing tokens.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next step would be to go over some of the questions that have been asked in the community. And to be very honest, a lot of these are very practical questions about things that the community is right now expecting to get or is actively interacting with. So I'm just going to ask you the question, Scorpio, and let me know if there's anything that you want me to take on. I know most of these answers as well, but obviously you're here, and I would love to hear a lot from you. But yeah, let's start with the testnet, right? So we launched the testnet. The testnet is going live in 3 different waves. Every wave, new people will get added to the testnet. But maybe can you explain, how does a testnet work again? What is the purpose of it for us? Why do we want people to use a testnet?
Yeah, so mainly that we, are trying to gather at first a community that actually understands how the ecosystem works. I think that's also indeed due to the academy. But in terms of the testnet, it's really like, okay, how do you actually execute on being part of the Reform DAO ecosystem, right? And I think that's one thing to get people, aware of how it works, and that they actually can already do it with the girly ETH and just try to buy bond, stake, claim, force and stake, whatever. Oh, maybe I said now a tip, but those things happen. But all those things is just important for everyone, especially in the DAO where you want everyone to be within the processes. And there you want everyone to be aware of what's going on. And I think especially also the next thing there is that you want it to be properly tested. You want it to work properly. You don't want someone to buy the bonding and then pay like 10 ETH for maybe one Reform token, which is at launch 10 cents. Those kind of things. Yeah, you want to prevent. You want to make sure that that's not happen. So I think now, we're really in the testing phase, trying to make sure everything is working properly, and that it's working the way how we want it to be, and that people actually can participate. Maybe, I don't know if you already have them, Paul, but it would also actually be nice to share some numbers in regards to the people that have been, claiming the Goody ETH faucet that we actually provided in our Discord, but also like the people that actually, the amount of interactions within the bonding treasury. I do have some numbers myself, but I think they're like a few days outdated. So yeah, I could go over them, but I don't know, maybe if you have the more version.
I don't have them with me right now. So I think the ones you have are almost the most up-to-date ones. Also seeing we don't have a new wave added to the testnet this week, but that will be next week on the 14th. We'll actually do wave 3. So maybe you can numbers that you have from, I think they're from Monday, so it's not that old.
Yeah, I actually sent them first on 31st of January, so like a week ago. I think, I actually checked them like yesterday or something, and the numbers were in quite nicely. Anyway, I will just use those numbers, and then maybe we can send an update in the Discord or something afterwards for everyone to review. But I had like 21,000 people actually, or let's say interactions with the bonding treasury. So people actually buying the bonds and with a girly ETH, claiming it from our girly ETH faucet, or actually even doing it from their own stack. I see like a recurring thing where people do 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years to cover everything, and I think that's that's very good. I also see the girly ETH has been claimed by 8 or let's say 9,000 people already through our Discord. So also gives you the size of people that are already participating. So that's also very nice. And then our Galaxy,
if I can quickly interrupt, one of our team members just handed me a nice doc with all the actual numbers of today.
Nice.
They're of course listening in as well. So the amount of times people claimed really eat on the faucet that we have in our Discord, which means unique wallets, is 5,000 times. So quite a bit more than you already mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the amount of times that was interacted with bonding and the bonding contract was over 35,000 times. And with the staking contract was over 32,000 times.
Yeah,
so it's the numbers are racking up like crazy indeed.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is only 7 days, at 21,000 for the bonding, and you're already in the 30. So just going really well, and I think that's also due to our reach expanding further and further. Everything in regards to of course, because of the community, and we really appreciate that, since we can now have a proper testing and everyone being aware of all the functions that are in the dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually quite a lot of things also didn't go too smooth at the start, right? I mean, the people in the have seen that, and we've been working, hours and hours throughout the day, throughout the night, to make sure we can update and have it working as it's supposed to. But that's why it's so great to do a testnet, because we're literally testing, and how simple it sounds, it's great to do it, because it makes it that once we go live with the actual dashboard, like the mainnet, we'll have success and it will work fluently, hopefully. So that's great. So to go a little bit further into what people are doing, all right? We already said the bonding, staking. You said something about like a force unlock thing. People have to listen back to this and find it out themselves. But as I mentioned before, there's 3 waves, and every wave there's tasks to what you can do within testnet. Right? Wave there were 3 tasks. The second wave there were 2 additional tasks, and the third wave that will come next week will have 1 more task. So in order for you to airdrop from the Reform token, you have to complete the testnet, meaning you have to do all of the tasks. Now, on our reformdao.com airdrop, you can find, or it's still /whitelist actually. It will go to /airdrop soon. We'll give an update on that as well. But you can find a task checker basically to check how many tasks you have. This will be updated once per 24 hours, so it's not instantly. But at least it gives you a good idea. And a lot of people have been asking, what are the tasks? So we decided not to tell the people. Scorpio, do you want to explain a little bit further about why we decided not to do that?
Yeah, sure. Because the main thing is what I think is important is that people actually try to understand and comprehend all the different features that are available within that. So of course, if we're going to it's this, and this, everyone will just like that and think like, okay, do this, and this, and then okay, happy, I'm going for the airdrop. But as soon as you have people engaging and you have people actually really searching for specific features, clicking on the informational button, seeing what it's about, what they can do with everything that's in there, they will also make the connection that, hey, there's like an extra part here where there's no button yet, but that button will most likely be coming in the next wave or the wave after. Even we had some people that actually went into the smart contract and actually already did the feature because it was available in the smart contract, but not yet available dashboard yet. So I think those kind of things are really what we're searching for. People are actually on the search of, okay, what can I do? So understanding of the different features that are available. And I think that's really our key takeaway. We want everyone to understand it, but also then after that, of course, test it and see if it really works, if you figured out which ones it are.
Yeah. Well, I guess that explains everything. And what I really love about it is that the community to do it together, right? Like, go out there, try it out, communicate with everyone. We have a Discord, all the channels are open. We have languages for everyone to communicate in their own language if they want. Talk with the people in the community, right? Do it together. We love to see that. And lastly, and I think it's quite fair to say, we're giving you an airdrop, right? Like, Reform is literally sending you free tokens for completing this, which is going to be worth hopefully quite a lot of money. So at least you need to do some effort for it, right? It doesn't come for free. It does, but yeah.
Yeah, and it also, is like that, right? It's also a nice effort to do it, together with your friends, together with whoever, just figuring out, okay, what are the different things to do? Okay, you have a wallet that actually did all the tasks. Well, let to your friends, right? Go make sure that they also are aware of what what all the key elements are in getting it completed, because that's like what it is. It's sort of a quest, make it a quest together with you and your friends, and try to figure out what the quests are, and then in the end properly test them, of course, to see if it works the way it should work.
Yeah, absolutely, fully agree. I think one of the other questions that was asked a lot is about the diamond level or the diamond tier within our Discord. It's a role you can get by acquiring points. You can acquire points in many different ways. You have to start at bronze. You go to silver, to gold, to platinum, and then to diamond. You can get to gold with inviting your friends. You can get some points by chatting in the server. There's the gold level. There's a lot of contributions you can make to Reform. There will be a lot more added in the near future. So it comes basically down, there's a lot of things you can do to help us as a project and help yourself in that way to contribute. And in that way, you can level up and get to the diamond level. Now, the main reason to do this is obviously there is also an airdrop connected to the diamond tier. Everyone that's in the diamond received this airdrop. And it's probably one of the more unique airdrops because everyone who completes testnet will get one airdrop. Everyone who gets diamond member will get one as well. In the end, the testnet is six tasks that you have to complete. The diamond tier members, you have to do quite a lot of effort to get to the diamond tier. So additionally, we have a diamond OG. And some of the questions that we got in is like, how many people can get the OG role? How long do we have until to get this? And I can give very quick answers to that already myself. Once the TGE happens, so once we go live with Reform, that's obviously when an airdrop will, the screenshot will be taken for the airdrop, and that's the deadline. With regards to how many people can get Diamond OG, well, whoever gets the amount of points required until that time will be eligible as well. And if you want to know more about all the details and about all the benefits that you get for each tier that we have, jump into the Discord, have a look. All the information is there. But it comes down to another thing, because a lot of people have asked, what is airdrop? How does it work? How does it look? And one of the things that we will launch really very soon, hopefully end of this week, will be the reform.com/airdrop page, where we will explain everything around the airdrop. And what you can see there is that there will be 3 airdrops in total. And I've explained this various times in the Discord to a lot of people, but I think it's important to mention it here once again. But that there's 3 different airdrops. Everyone can get those 3 airdrops. So you as an individual can get all 3 of them. The first one will be to complete the testnet. The second one will be to get the diamond tier in our Discord. And the third one is still not disclosed. We will get to that very soon. But it's another opportunity for people to get their airdrop. So be a little bit more patient for us to upload this to our website, and you can see all the details there, at least for the first 2. So you have a clear understanding, and hopefully that will help out everyone that has questions. And then I have one final thing, Scorpio, that I wanted to, because we're doing all these great things for people. We're building an amazing community, and they're getting their reward, which is the airdrop, once we go live. But after that, obviously, there's a reason for the community to stick around. And we got some questions around this already, like why would people want to stay around, etc. And maybe you can give a little bit of a sneak peek this week. We won't dive in too much, but what are some of the benefits or opportunities for the community to stay after the launch?
Yeah, so of course, everyone knows that Reform DAO is here to do the designated market making for a lot of projects. Those projects are, well, most of the time just starting and willing to build out a community, willing to build out their protocol. And I think, you as an individual can contribute to that, and should also be, sort of rewarded for all the effort and all the time that you're putting into actually also leveraging your network, your marketing efforts, your time towards those projects that we're going to do the market making for. So in that sense, we will have a rewarding program from the projects that we're going to do market for, having some token allocations from them dedicated to our community, which will actually be a never-ending something, because every time we find a new project that actually we're going to do market making for, where we're actually going to ignite and have the community actually involved within this project, then people can actually get equally rewarded. And I think that's already a very cool thing. Also hinting towards an extra, or let's say a new campaign that we're going to do after the launch. We're already preparing quite far ahead, but it's actually something to do with the personalization of yourself, so to say, and making sure that you can have your own personality within the DAO. And there are like a lot of extra and innovative things coming with that. I cannot say too much about it, because maybe it wasn't even the goal of Paulus to actually get so far into details. But I think it's just good for everyone to know that even after the launch with the airdrop, that actually all the people that have been doing the tasks and have been executing and putting their time and effort to it, that like a small extra, so to say, or a cool extra. I would say I'm very, very excited about this actually, because it's something that's also going to something that has never been done before. And I think that's also what we stand for, right? In the first case, reforming the market making industry, because we think that's something where we are needed and also where our expertise is. But on the other hand, we're of course always aiming to also reform other parts of the crypto industry at first, but maybe in the future even reform different parts of the world to make sure that it's like, how it should be. And I think, that's it. I think enough tips and tricks and
so much interpretation, man.
reviewing.
It sounds almost like you're gonna run for president,
Well, who knows?
No, I think it's great, and I think what it comes down to, guys, is that there's a lot more coming, and it's gonna benefit everyone that's a core part of our community, especially in the long term. And the fact that we're so bullish on it is obviously because what's coming. We're working on this, but it's truly gonna be amazing, and it's what I like about Reform DAO, right? It's transparent, it's decentralized, it's really being there for the people, and it will do that in many different ways. So stick with us. Thank you all for being here, Scorpio. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. We have been almost here for an hour, so it's time to round off again. But it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely want to give one last little bit of alpha, and that's next week, guys. You all want to show up because next week we're gonna do something special in the space. Well, maybe you shouldn't say in the space because maybe it's not the space anymore. Maybe it's something else. But yeah, you should definitely be here because it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we've been working on something cool behind the screens that we want to showcase most likely next week with all of you. So we're looking forward to see you all again next week, guys.
Yeah, sounds good. Really looking forward to next week, and indeed it was a pleasure again to explain more about Reform DAO and everything around that to everyone.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much again, Scorpio. Thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Thank you. See you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.